All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast powered by our friends over at X2 Power Batteries. As always, I'm your host, Bailey Egbert, and joined with me is the captain, Mr. Andy Full. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? It's as we're recording this, I can hear the birds chirping, the sun is peeping out behind you. It's making me quite envious. We got a wicked ice storm here in Western New York, and to give you like an idea of how crappy it is out, my driveway has about this much snow and ice on it. And when I stepped out this morning to clean off my wife's car, my feet almost went out from underneath me. And I like
say, did you eat it?
Very, very close, but it's so thick from the rain and the freezing rain hitting the snow. And I mean, I'm not a small guy. I'm like 230 pounds. I wasn't even like compressing down into the snow ice slush. It was just solid. Like it was not fun. Yeah, it was. I can't believe we didn't lose power, to be honest, because everything has like this much ice on it. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah, but
yeah,
we're here.
Happy that I'm not down there.
Yeah, just make me and all of our viewers jealous of the birds and egrets and whatever else is flying around chirping away behind you.
Yeah, we'll let them keep listening to the birds behind me. I'm enjoying my last couple days here in Florida before I head back north into the nice icy snowy tundra. As we record this, obviously, folks are either watching or listening to this on a Friday. Andy and I are recording this actually Thursday morning, so yesterday for you folks. Yeah. Because I am going to Tampa Bay Lightning game tonight with my dad, and then so that's kind of why we're not doing this in the evening like we always do. Although I kind of like this morning deal.
Yeah, it's kind of actually nice. Like I think we should do this more because then there's no pressure at night. We're awake. I just had the coffee. We're good to go. No children screaming or throwing tantrums in the background. Like it's nice and quiet and serene at my house.
Yeah, day one of Seminole is about to fire up right now. Watch a little bit of live before I have to get some stuff done today. And
they're already catching them. Ike and Ellie already has a 4-pounder in the boat for big bass. So they're catching them. Yeah. Drew Cook is already got 2 fish for 5.5 pounds. Like,
of course he does.
Yeah, he's gonna smoke them.
God dang it! I think for drain the lake.
I'm pretty sure he lives on Lake Seminole.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I did pick him for drain the lake, but I think why I didn't. I'm trying to remember what bucket he was.
He was an A because he finished in the top 10.
So I picked Cobb. That's why. Because I think all of you guys picked Cook, so that's why I went with Cobb.
Yeah, I might have. I'm looking right now because
I don't think you picked Cook either. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I was trying to do. I actually think I took Swindle.
Swindle is how you pronounce it. Actually,
I almost said Swindle again. That was just the beers talking. I was being a little funky. So give me a second here. I'll tell you. As a quick recap, I'll tell you what my group is. But
none of my guys have a bass in Bass Track just yet. Actually, never mind. I take it back. Literally, Cobb just recorded a 3 1/4.
Nice. That's
but
good.
Bass Track does not have his weight or anything up. So that's or not Bass Track. Fantasy fishing.
It keeps pulling up my drain the lake. Give me a second here. There we go. Now it's working.
Yeah, you got to click my team. They changed the site around a little bit.
Yeah, so I have Swindle, Polnick, Palmer, Porosnik, and Jason Christie. I had a little bit different team than everyone else. Was it Boomer, Brennan, and Deacon? I think all chose the same people.
Same damn team, yeah.
Yeah, so they're all going down together or going to have equal points.
That's right.
So we'll see.
My team of Cobb, Hackney, Cox, New, and Poche hopefully are going to have themselves a derb.
I think they will. I hope Poche catches them because I want to see his little tin boat up like a creek somewhere. Just
how cool that would be for live. Like that's what they need, honestly. As much as I'm a guy that loves to fish offshore, like from a live TV standpoint, that's what people love to see. Because honestly, that's more relatable than somebody offshore staring at live scope.
Well, yeah, especially in today's world of like, we can go down a rabbit hole real fast and talk about like boat prices, right?
Yeah.
In today's world of fiberglass boats, it's almost to a point. Like I was just looking at it last night with my CX-19, right? Like I'll be open. I got a pretty good deal on it, and I could sell it today for more than I paid for it. And this is 8 months out because used boat and new boat prices with inflation, the cost of materials, importing materials from China and Indonesia for all the plastic and metal parts that go into these boats, the prices are up like 200, 300% on some of the small things. And that's why you're seeing these prices like insane. I really, truly believe that in a couple of years, we're going to start seeing more people like Keith Poche with the like tin boat armies and getting into these untapped backwaters that like John Cox has been doing for years with the Crestliner Bass Hawk. But like, I think you're going to start seeing a transition to where you start seeing more tin boats. Could you imagine another rabbit hole real quick? Could you imagine if like a pro circuit came out and was like, we're doing tin boats only, 115 horsepower. We're going to limit to like 60 anglers, $30,000 entry fees, and have like a $50,000 first place prize. And they go to like all these little lakes and river systems to where like it can really showcase those tin boats. How much fun would that be from like a live TV setting?
That would be ridiculously fun.
Yeah, it's like the Hobie stuff, right? Like, because you could access water that was never deemed accessible from a fiberglass boat standpoint. I would love to see it, even if it was like a 2 or 3 tournament series.
Well, that's like, you look at a Bassmaster kayak with the resources they have, and because they allow motors in it. So, like, kayaks can be a little bit more mobile in regards to how far they go throughout the day, because not all of your field is going to be as psychotic as me with my thunder thighs and pedal 13 miles, one direction. That's an exaggeration. 13 miles would be like a whole day, but like,
I'm tired just thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's exhausting. Like, at the end of the day, it's nice though, because you feel good at the end of the day from a standpoint of like you got a good workout in, especially like when you go 3.5, 4 miles at a decent pace, like holding 4.5, which for my kayak folk, they know that's like you pedal to the middle. But but like
you're
with the motor stuff,
speed us down there, bud.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're flying. We're putting around plane, boys. But like, you think about it, you have motors with the kayak on that series. I mean, what's to stop you from taking like a Keith Poche style boat and following some of the kayaks up there and live streaming it? I think people would watch it.
I agree completely. We need to like force our hand if we ever had that amount of sway and be like, listen, guys, you need to do like a backwoods type tin boat derby on a professional setting. That could be like the great equilibrium, right? Like bring both series together and have like a tin boat world championship. And
I know there's some John boat leagues out there.
Yeah.
I think they're just like Tuesday nighters though. I don't know if there's like a legit league. Obviously there's not a legit league. We know about it, but like in regards to like a national deal. But I know like in Virginia, I'm trying to remember his YouTube channel. He's a fairly big YouTuber. He did like a whole national series where he travels around with his little John boat, but like he lives in Virginia, I think. And he does like a bunch of John boat night tournaments, like
That's
club
so
deals.
Cool. Yeah.
So like, I mean, that could be a cool thing on the national scale. I just, it'd be interesting. Honestly, I feel like then though, you'd have that competitiveness and then you'd see just these battleships for John boats, and you'd have the same deal as you're seeing in the boat tournaments right now. You'd have to have some sort of restriction to keep it at that simplistic level.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong there, but I think either way, I think fishing right now needs to see some ways to, because obviously people love the live streaming. Like they love Bassmaster Live. I personally love all live for fishing in regards to whether it's MPFL, MLF, Bass, regardless. But like, dabble with some kayak in there, dabble with some, different leagues that we have going on. I think even just from a content creator standpoint, there's so many videos out there of guys that are like fishing, and it's like a 15-minute video of their 9-hour day where it might be interesting to dabble with like going live from your dang kayak for 5 hours straight and people watch and see what you do. Like they're watching you almost, eat it, trying to get over a log in your kayak type of deal. Like it could be interesting. I don't know the infrastructure that needed for that, but obviously you need cell service. But it'd be, hey, if someone wants to watch me go live for 7 hours and swear at myself trying to find fish
All right,
offshore.
let's put it in.
I'd
Let's
do
leave
that.
it to the viewers, right? Like down below, if you're watching on YouTube or listening on YouTube, leave a comment and put on there Bailey should go live on Be the Fish, or like even just post like a 4, 5, 6 hour YouTube video of just like unedited. I think that'd be something really cool to see, like the entire realm of like the kayak and what your whole day is like instead of like short clips. So if like everyone tuning in, if you want to see something like that, leave a comment down below in the YouTube comments, because I think that's something that'd be really cool for Bailey's Be the Fish
yeah,
page.
I could go live on Serious Angler. I could go live
Yeah.
on Serious Angler social media like Instagram, which is probably the easiest way to do it, honestly. Because I could have just the phone right there, and then this is something you could do too, Andy. So
Oh,
it's like,
sure.
I don't know, people want to see that. We go fishing a lot, so we can certainly just go live for a full day on social or something like that, and bring you guys along. But yeah, if that's something you guys want to see, throw it in there. But I don't know. I am excited to watch a little bit of Bassmaster Live. I didn't get to watch too much of the Harris chain because I was literally on the water. I got to watch it a little bit when I was like graphing from one area to the next. But beyond that, like I didn't get to watch too much live. I got to watch more of like Chris Lane's insanity go down. But Harris chain, it was frustrating, man. I thought I was on something really good, which I think I was on something pretty decent in regards to the offshore grass that I found. It was only me and maybe, in the tournament itself, there's only me and one other kayak that figured the deal out. And there's actually Brandon Berlinski from New York as well. He figured it out. But I found some stuff apart from where him and I had like a similar area that like it didn't have a lot of fish, but it had big ones. Like I caught a 5.5 pounder in it on the tournament when there was a mud hole, but like there was probably 2.5 foot of his in practice. And 2 days before it, I caught a 5 pounder and then a 4.5 on the same area. It's literally just this part that's like there's this submerged grass point that comes off, and then about 50 yards past that point, there's a hard spot with 3 different grass clumps, and you can see that dotted up on it. Looking back, I wish I took a screenshot to like as a representation for folks, but it is I had a lot of faith in that area until obviously the water dirtied up. But
typical Florida, you got Floridaed by Florida.
I did get Floridaed. I got Floridaed by the Florida weatherman is what I got wrecked by. But that's just an excuse because I could still see him on Mega Live on Saturday on day one of the tournament. I made a bad decision of staying there too long, but I did catch the one big one, but I had to literally it was sitting there right on the bottom in the middle of these clumps, and I was just like slowly dragging a chatterbait, like ripping it up into its face. It almost felt as if I hit it on the head, and that is when it ate. Like it was pretty much a struggle because it was a cold front, and everybody knows how cold fronts work in Florida. 2, it was like 2 inches of visibility, so like you had that going for you too, and it was blowing 20 miles an hour, like just straight, like nonstop with some gusts that were harder than that. So it wasn't ideal. You guys will see it on the Be the Fish chasing hardwater videos that are coming soon. But man, I made bad decision to stay there too long because as soon as I moved up into shallower, found some cleaner water later in the day, I saw fish everywhere. I got my limit fast. Not that there was a big limit, but like saw 8 pounder on a bed, found another one on a bed. They weren't locked, but like there was definitely bigger fish there that probably could have ran into in the morning while the day or the visibility for the fish was darker, so that probably could have bit. Because I made that adjustment day 2 where I went to a section of the lake that didn't get pounded with that wind the 2 days prior, and caught like 3 decent fish quick, and then went into the canals and had myself a time losing potentially 2 the fish that could have been the biggest fish I've ever caught.
Yeah, you made a pretty good adjustment. Do you want to talk about like the adjustment you made when you went shallow, like your technique that you started using?
Yeah. So what it was, I had another grass area that I don't think it was as good as my primary spot that I just explained, but I had another stuff that that was like I was catching. You could catch a bunch of them, like 1.5 pounders to maybe 2 pounds. And I went there and I caught 3 like right off the bat. And then, to be quite honest, you'll see it in the video. It's funny. I had about, I mean, I can't guesstimate that well as some of our Floridians or our Southerners can, but it was probably about a 12-foot gator that suspiciously kept coming closer and closer and closer to me, and then would sink underwater, and I'd go around down the stretch, and then he'd sink up back behind me like 40 yards. So I'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to move along here.
He said, this Bailey guy looks awfully tasty. I got to be opportunistic to get him.
Right. But no, I mean, it wasn't like anything crazy was going down anyways. In like 2 hours, I caught 3 fish. But this day, there was no wind. There was no wind compared to day one where it was blowing like a mother, and it was way hotter. Like we had probably almost, I think it was like 85, 87 as a high. The temps were as 71 was the high the day prior, which felt much colder, obviously, because of the wind. It was a northeast wind, which is like, as anglers know, is like the worst wind.
It's like death to a bass fisherman. Yeah. Any fishing, really, but
yeah. And something I figured out, so I decided to scrap everything, and being that I found the best fish I found shallow the day prior, what I did was I've literally that night before I looked at the map, because now with Hobie BOS, we are given launches we're allowed to go to. It's not like it was, but they, before, where it's like, if it's public and you can figure out a way to launch, you're good to go. Like now they're restricting people to where you can launch, which is neither here nor there. We don't have to get into it right now. But I essentially, what I did is went and pulled up the launch map they put like little dots on where you can launch. And I tried to find the place that is the farthest away from every single ramp, where it'll restrict how many kayaks I'll see. And I didn't see a single kayak on day one besides one I launched. And so it worked out. What I did is I just went and I looked at a bunch of canals that were in that area that I knew, one, the only people would be in it that I run into would be other boats. And so the first one I popped into, I noticed this one, I was the only one that had it, but I had a concrete wall right around the entire point of the mouth going into it. And I've heard rumblings of potentially some shad spawns in Florida, and literally 2 casts into there's a bunch of grass right out in front of it, but there's like a little channel lane that's like right in flush with that concrete wall. First cast with a chatterbait caught like a 15-incher. So like for folks, it's probably like a pound and a half, or not even. And the second cast lost one that was probably like 2.5, because it came up a little bit, and I was like, damn. But like, at least I'm coming on to like a little bit of pattern. That's like the quickest bite after bite that I've gotten. Went back into that canal, got cleaner water back in there. Especially the ones I noticed were northern facing canals, where the wind wasn't able to rip into it as easy, because we didn't really get any crazy south winds throughout the week. But it cleaned up back there, and I ended up catching my limit, just pitching. There's a bunch of hydrilla patches in the backs of the cuts, and I would just pitch next to past the hydrilla cut, or the hydrilla patch, and I just drag a worm. I was dragging a 7-inch Gambler Fat Ace, trying to find those bigger bites.
Talk about a Florida staple.
Yeah. Shout out to Mikey Balls in that Lure Lab episode. And so I pitched that in there, caught my limit doing that, and then they were like 14, 15-inchers. And then left and started. I'm like, okay, so like literally I just got 4 bites in a canal. I'm running canals for the rest of the day. It was probably 11 o'clock at that point. Had 4 hours left. Ran across the lake. Took me like 45 minutes to run across the lake, because I was on Griffin, and Griffin at the bottom is, for a kayak, is wide. And went in the first canal, and it was absolutely loaded with these bigger pads. I don't know the exact name of them, but like, you have your lily pads, but then you have your, like, people know what I'm talking about these Florida pads. Like,
are they like the little ones, the dollar pads?
No, so you have like your dollar pads, and you have your lily pads, and then you have these ones that almost look like the spade. You know what I'm talking about? Like, they have really, really thick roots that a lot of the bass spawn on. I'm so bad with vegetation names. Like, if it's not hydrilla, coontail, or milfoil, I probably couldn't tell you what the hell it is. But essentially, I just know a lot of this stuff is in Florida. That's where the bass spawn on. And I was flipping it for so long, for a while, and then It took till I saw a boater that was one boat that was in there catch like a 1.5 or 2 pounder throwing a spinnerbait through it, and watched a bass absolutely crush a bluegill under these little pads. That I realized I had. I got a big bite. I got a 4 pounder in practice taking a I think it's a 6 or 7 inch rage swimmer with a belly weighted swim bait. It was a 6/0 Owner Beast belly weighted swim bait hook. And I was pitching reeds with that, and I'd swim it through, bonk it off of reeds, and I caught a 4 pounder doing that in practice. And so I was like, man, why do I do that around these pads? Because I'm not catching anything flipping the pads. I'll take that back. I lost one flipping reeds in that cut before I started fishing the pads. That when it flashed, it was probably a 4 pounder. It was a good one. There's definitely what obviously helped, and it would have been in my bag for the whole day, but that's neither here nor there. It was one where it's like I flip into it. You could tell it was spawning on it because you didn't even notice it pick up, and it was swimming off. And when I leaned the hook into it, it was already in another clump of reeds, and I lost it, and all I pulled back was another reed. So it got me stuck. And that was like a learning lesson there for me in regards to when you're fishing for spawners, especially spawners you can't see. Do not be the ditz that I am. When you pitch in, you start looking around. You start taking your time, because usually when you do, you pitch in there, you leave it for like 5 seconds. You don't do anything with it, and then you can shake it, then you bring it back. I picked that up from Brandon Lester last year on the Harris train, and how he was doing that same deal. And that he was like, yeah, I'd pitch it in there, I'd leave it, so leave it for like 5-10 seconds, shake it, bring it back if I don't have a bite. That's what I was doing, but my problem is I wasn't paying attention to my damn line. I kept looking, bird. Like, yeah. And I look over my lines. Oh, my line's going left or right very fast. I should probably wake up. I lost that fish because I wasn't paying attention. But then I started fishing those pads. So I picked up that belly weighted swim bait, and first cast, catch a 3 pounder, swimming it through the pads, a sick bite, which is like literally bounced it off the one reed of the pad, went smoked. Yeah, and I cracked it. And it was like right through the roof of the mouth. It was a 16.5, which was about a 3 pounder. And I was like, damn, this could be a good bite. Like, especially if I get another one doing this. Caught another 15-incher doing it, and I left that canal, went into the next one, and right at the mouth of it, there was a transition where it went from reeds to these pads that I was talking about, and I bring it right along the edge, and it when I tell you that I got smoked, like it felt like somebody took a baseball bat and hit my swim bait, cracked it, and all I saw was just big mouth come up, and it was like barely skin hooked. And then just threw it right back at me. I mean, I saw the thing flash too on its side, and it was a big one. It was probably a 22-incher, if I had to guess. It was fat too. I could see like when it rolled at the top. Unfortunately, GoPro footage, I think it got the flash, but I don't think you can actually really see the detail over my left shoulder. But it was over 7 pounds because it was tubby, and so that sucked. But that gave me like further clue that, hey, this is what you have to do. Yeah, this is what I got to be doing for the rest of the day. I'm not putting this thing down, but I'm sitting there. I'm like, that's okay. I lost that one. I don't know if it was just chalk up to, just happens because these fish are somewhat spawning right now, and some spawners can be hard to hook. And so I just kept going along that creek, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I should really put a stinger hook on this thing. And really looking back, I should have just taken the time to rig up a stinger hook, because I probably would have caught the rest of the fish that bit that day. But go back in that cut, lose like an 18-incher, it was probably almost 4 pounds, and then go all the way back in the cut, get bumped a couple times, couldn't see the fish, they didn't feel big, and then hit the last canal, that was the biggest one, and lose another one. That's I saw the thing had the whole thing in its mouth too, which is the crazy part. And I think what we've discussed was we're chalking it up to either one, it's a swim bait hook, or two, it could be I need a longer, stouter rod, especially for that big swim bait hook. But I lost another one, man. When that thing swirled, it wasn't as big as the first one I lost, but it was freaking damn big, like bigger than the 5.5 that I caught the day prior, and lost that. Doing the same thing, just watched the swim bait disappear and set the hook, and it comes flying out of its mouth. But I was told, so I was talking with Boomer, with Mr. Alpha Angler, and he was mentioning that the Hayabusa swim bait hook is like the deal now, which I always thought Owner Beasts were like legit, which I know they work in some cases. I mean, the first fish I caught that day, I cracked it through the skull, but I guess it's just more of instance. But I'm gonna have to give that Hayabusa a try. Um, Either way, the technique was fun as heck, dude. Because it was like typically, and looking back on it, like if I knew I wasn't getting hung up, I probably should have thrown the mag draft instead because I would have probably caught all of those fish, or at least not, at least would have hooked them much better. Especially the standard that has a treble hook on the bottom. But it was just one of those deals, man, where it's like I think it really came down to setup that screwed me, and I don't think my setup was bad. It was just more like I think especially just changing hook probably would have helped, or at least putting a stinger on. But I was throwing a 7.6 heavy fast, 20-pound fluorocarbon. It was a Shimano Corrado K 200. It was a 6-2, so I was able to really slow roll it. And like the speed wasn't anything. That was never a problem. It was just like I don't know. Those fish just came off, and I was like, well, man. I mean, looking back on it, I was like upset, obviously, because fishing clean is always your number one goal. Um, but I was like kind of happy that I made that adjustment. I could have had a really big day.
I wonder.
Damn near close to 100 inches if I landed all those fish. But it was just kind of like it was like I felt good. You know, Florida. It's my first time fishing Florida, fishing a derb down here. Made the right adjustment, especially what happened yesterday because I made bad adjustments on day one. I'm going to keep the head high just for the pure fact that I made a good adjustment and I didn't absolutely suck. I had a slightly better day 2 inches wise than I did day one. And it only moved me up 2 spots. So a whopping 62nd out of 155 people.
Hey, still in the top half, bud. Still in the top half.
Yay, top
yeah.
half.
Yeah, participation trophy for Bailey. Congrats.
Well, it ruined my streak, man. I had like a streak going since the first derb last year. It was like 14, 15 tournaments in a row, top 10% of the field. Yeah. So I was kind of bummed.
Yeah, man, we all have bad days. It's nothing new, and you'll get over it. And I'm sure you'll come back to New York and whoop up on everyone again. So I'm sure all the kayak anglers are looking forward to that here. But I want to digress quickly and go back to like the swim bait, right? Like that bite. Did you analyze the film yet to see like what you did differently? Was your hook set different from the one that you pinned in the top of the mouth to losing the 2 fish? Like was there something along those lines that maybe it was why you lost them?
The big one, like the big one that I saw at the whole mouth and everything, because of where I was, I had to set the hook back over my left shoulder, which I'm reeling right-handed. Yeah. Whereas the one that I set, the first one, I remember feeling to make sure that was a bite and not a reed. So I gave it a second, which I think that could have been a thing where I should have given a second to actually eat it fully. And then I cracked it hard over my right shoulder, which is like natural hook set.
Yeah.
And I hit that thing hard. Whereas I think the 2 big ones that I lost, I think it might have been too quick.
Yeah, you're all excited and giddy. Like that's probably what happened, honestly.
It could have been like I was more of like that spinnerbait reaction, you know. As soon as you get bumped is when you set. Whereas this one, it might be more of. And this is where we need to get somebody on that knows this way more than us. It could be more like when you swim a worm, where if you get bumped and you swim a worm, you stop. Yeah. If you reel your line slack, make sure you feel the fish, and then you set. Oh, it's almost like you give it more of a hesitation than a frog.
Yeah.
I think that is probably where I should have done, where I could have let it, take it down its mouth a little bit more and then give her the beans type of deal.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering is like, now that you say that, it almost makes sense, right? Like, because the first one you paused, but the other 2 you hit them right away, and you said that they were barely skin hooked, but the one that ate it good and you got good, you waited a half a second. So maybe you just answered your own question, like, should I pause for a half a second before wailing on them? I don't know. It's tough because you're learning. It's a technique that you're not accustomed to doing. So it was basically new to you down there from what I know and understand the way you fish, that it's hard to get the one to have confidence to throw it, and then 2 to figure out exactly how to land those fish on the first couple times. Like same thing with everything. The more repetition you get with it, the more accustomed you get to like all the little minute details that go into actually landing the fish. So you'll be all right. You'll get them next time.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, I literally almost never throw a belly weighted swim bait, like especially in EWG style. Like if I'm throwing mag drafts, I'm throwing the standard with the treble on the bottom, or if I'm throwing like big hollow belly stuff like that, I'm throwing a jig head where it's exposed. And that's honestly one of my favorite bites ever, is throwing like a 1/2 ounce a swim bait head, like a 5/0 with a big hollow belly and rolling that baby on the bottom, especially like on Chickamauga and stuff. God, that's so much fun, dude. Because you get throttled. I was on a really good bite with that a few years back for the first Bass Kayak Championship. Everyone was up shallow throwing glide baits and flipping brush and all that stuff, which is fun. But dude, I realized because it's a river system back on Possum Kingdom that these fish were, it was like early June. I'm like, these fish are just off bed. Like they're going to be coming up and spawning. They're not spawning, excuse me. I'm like, they're probably at ledges, man. Like they're probably going to set up just like that. And lo and behold, I find 3 schools in the first day of graphing. And one of the schools I made 2 casts in it, caught 2 6-pounders back to back throwing that swim bait. I'm like, dude, this is going to be so much freaking fun. Like,
and then the water got muddy on you. This is like the second or third time you've had muddy water affect your bite. That sucks.
Yeah. Well, that one was a whole extreme. That one was freaking nuts, man. It went from 10 foot of viz to, we had this torrential downpour overnight on day 1 of practice, which PK is connected to the Brazos River, north and south of it. From the top and bottom, PK is like just a connection. So the Brazos flows down into PK, and then PK dumps into the Brazos. And essentially, if you see the Brazos River, it is chocolate milk. So when it started flowing, PK, crystal clear PK, turned into a tire lake of, like, literally when you drove by it or you're on it, it's orange. Like that's how bad it was.
Fun.
And I had to resort to just going way up shallow and flipping every bush with as big of a rage. I had a big rage bug. It was like the 5-inch one, like the giant one, to try to have just as big a profile as I can. And then lo and behold, the guy went, the guy that was in third actually was right next to me. He was pushed out. I was flipping, and then 10 yards off was a bunch of timber, and he was throwing a silent square bill in that color water and catching him, which made no sense to me at all. But like, was an interesting deal. And
was it black and chartreuse or white? Do you know what color? Yeah, so it just looked like shad.
I got to watch him wax them, and like I could have, went and gone and done that, but I'm sitting there like, that'd be shitty of me if I went and copied this guy. I mean, I could have gone to a different area, but then it's like I'm catching fish flipping, and it's just like one of those deals where probably should have made a better adjustment and left, but it is what it is. It was an interesting deal.
Forever a student, right? Like you're always going to be learning in those situations. So next time you're better prepared for it. So that's one thing about like traveling the country. And I think like tournament anglers who fish like the same 2-3 lakes all the time, as soon as they go somewhere else, they're lost because they're not used to patterning fish in different areas. And that's why like on pro tours, sometimes it takes like, if these guys can survive the first 2 years, like for instance, like Tyler Rivette, right? Like great angler, but it took him a couple of years to really like grab and hold on to the Elite Series. I remember the first 2 years he was in, I think he barely made it to the 3rd year, or because of COVID, he was able to go to the 3rd year. Like, and now he's always in the cut, like wins Lake Okeechobee doing something completely different. And I think it's all situational based. We're just learning as we go. And the more you learn, like studying, the more time you have, the more you learn, the better off you're going to be. And you're going to be more situationally prepared.
Yeah, I mean, look at the different tournaments where he's like, he said it on stage, he's from Louisiana, he's a flipper, he wanted to be punching. That's what he's good at. And look at how versatile he's become. I mean, he won the dang thing scoping with a jerkbait.
Well, he was one that was sitting on his butt at Lake Oahe throwing the Carolina rig, right? If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Put the hook down. Like, that was an awesome clip. And dude, he had a really good event there, which is like, you think of Oahe, you're like, no offense to Tyler, but you're like, I'm not picking Rivette for fantasy. I don't think he's going to do that well. Damn, Sun made the final day. Like, it's cool to watch those anglers come in. You're like, you have a little bit of like, you're like, man, he's a very regional specific. Like on these events, you better pick him for fantasy, or he's gonna be up there. Then there's certain events like St. Lawrence River, probably shouldn't pick him. But
I think he did good last year too at the St. Lawrence, if I remember correctly.
I think the dude just adjusts well.
Yeah, I think he's figuring it out as he goes. Yeah. So, and he's doing really good at it.
Yeah.
But
really fast though, I pulled up the Omnia fishing. They don't have the Rage swimmer specifically that I was throwing, but they have a Kitech Swing Impact 6.8 inch that is pretty on par with what I was throwing. So if you guys want to get any of the gear, I did put a fishing report on Omnia for the Harris chain. And I can drop that in the description for you guys. But if you want to see some of the gear and stuff I use, I'll drop a full list on it for the Chasing Hardware videos that I'll have out. But you guys, if you guys haven't yet seen what we do with Omnia, if you guys want to use, save money off all your tackle, we do have a first time user code called Serious First, all caps. It's in the show notes for MP3 and YouTube. That gets you 15% off your first order. And then we have Series 10, which is 10% off, and you can use that as many times as you want. We've had some people say, like, when they're trying to order rods and reels, they won't work. There is like certain companies, like I think it's Shimano,
Megabass. I think Daiwa is one of them as well. Like any like Japanese companies, Shimano, G Loomis, I don't think it works on. What was that?
Do it for Jackal too.
Jackal, I don't believe works either. So like
the damn JDM companies.
Yeah, it's
essentially the code doesn't work for certain companies, not because it's Omnia, but because those companies don't allow the retailers to apply discounts. So
correct.
Just note that is for everybody though. That's every online retailer, not just Omnia. But
that's why you never see them go on sale either, because they're not allowed to really discount them unless it's like they're switching up the model, and that's when you see the older models go on sale. But well, I was going to say, the one thing that I truly love about Omnia, not only is it has an awesome bait selection, it seems to grow every quarter. They bring in new baits, but it's a crazy fast shipping. Like you put your order in and it's out the door usually same day if you get it in before their doors close, or you have your shipping labels, to where some other companies it might take 2 or 3 days just for them to ship your product. And I think Omnia's 2-day $5 shipping. Is it that right? Or it's like 3-day $5?
$50. I'm pretty sure it's free.
Yeah.
And then I think it's like $5.99. I guess obviously, guys, it depends on where you're at too. But the shipping is super fast, super easy. Like it's not like back in the day where I used to order from another very popular retailer. I won't call them out specifically. I'm not really calling them out because I ordered so much freaking stuff from them over the years. But like, it was, unless you ordered, next day, that was $40 shipping. Granted, that was what they had to do with the amount of demand at one point, especially with COVID. But regardless, the shipping of this is a dream. Plus, they send you a free handwritten note that makes you feel good, and they send you free turkey and apparel, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So the good people over at Omnia, and they'll be running a bunch of sales throughout the Classic and stuff like that. And that's one thing you'll look at too, is we'll try to make some content around Red Crest and Classic winning baits. I'm actually very intrigued to see what those are going to be this year. Which, speaking of Red Crest,
can't wait.
A
couple weeks away. Not even 2 weeks before we fly out ish.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks. Yeah, we fly down on a Tuesday. We'll be doing some live in-person shows. We're actually going to be doing stuff at the show, or at the launch, the first 2 days of the event. We're going to have not live, but we'll be doing shows, and we'll post them right up afterwards. So essentially, it's kind of live. I mean, it's relevant to the time.
Yeah.
We may try to go live pending what is, the connection and all that deal. But we're going to be doing a bunch of shows there, trying to get some of the guys on their off days. So that should be good. Some Red Crest content. If you're going to be at Red Crest, let us know, because we'll be at the X2 booth. I'll be floating around from X2 to the Pure Fishing booth to whomever the heck is going to be there that we're working with. So holler at us. X2 booth is going to be popping. It's going to be fun. Make sure you guys go check that out. But yeah, Red Crest is going to be fun as heck.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Plus, it's Charlotte. So, I've never been to Charlotte, right? It's in Charlotte, I believe.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes north of Charlotte.
Lake Norman.
It's on Norman. I don't know where exactly the expo is. I'll have to look that up. We probably know that. But regardless, the launch will be at the launch when the guys go and blast off, and we'll be doing a show with the backdrop and the stuff behind us. It'll be super cool. So,
heck yeah.
You guys can pop in. If you see us at the launch and we're setting up podcasts or we're recording, I mean, we'll have an extra mic. You guys can pop in if you want.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. as well as for the Classic. Classic's going to be fun too, although Andy's not going to be able to be there, unfortunately. It'll be Deacon and I. We'll be at the X2 booth. We'll be at the Blackfish booth. We'll be at the Hobie Eyewear booth. I'll be floating around from Humber, Minn Kota to, Berkeley, Abu, Fenwick, all that, all the whole Pure Fishing booth. Be at X2 a lot. Be all over the dang place. I'll be around TH Marine folks. And I think that how many folks are going to be there? I think they're just going to be floating around.
Yeah, I think they usually just float around and have some fun. So,
yeah, for sure. So we'll be at those. We'll be at both. So you guys can find us. We're gonna try to bring some swag for folks that if you're gonna make it, we'll try to get you some swag. Beyond that, I'm looking forward to the events. It's gonna be a heck of a lot of fun. We like doing the shows because this is the time of year because there's not a lot of people up north where we're at, especially in the industry. It's our chance to see a lot of the people that we get to talk to over social or on the podcast all the time. So it's a lot of fun getting to see everybody, talk fishing, talk life, go get some beers. It's good. It's a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I know you loved your first Classic last year.
I did. It was I hung out with Schnupp at the G2 Gemini booth for the 3 days, helped him set it up, tear it down, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sad I'm gonna miss this one, but after this I probably won't miss another Classic until we're not invited to go back. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Well, and the nice part, Red Crest too. You can float around that sucker. You can go wherever the heck you want. It'll be cool. We'll be active on socials.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
As long as we have cell phone service inside the convention center.
Classic will be tough, but it just means you guys will get like 1,000 stories and
at one time
when we get back to the hotel. That is why we will not be going live at the Classic. We'll be doing shows at the Classic, Deacon and I, as well as Rudd will be joining us. And we'll have whomever, X2 Pro and such. We'll be recording some of the shows at the X2 booth. And whomever's around will join us. But we will not be going live from those because there's so many dang people at the Classic Expo that it is impossible to get any cell service, especially good enough to go live.
Yeah, and also like Knoxville, the first time they went there set like the attendance record, I believe, for like biggest Classic. I expect the same thing this time. It's gonna be huge.
Knoxville's gonna be nuts, man. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of stuff about the Mike Iaconelli almost has 20 pounds right now.
Yeah, and Kyle Welcher just caught a big one on a frog.
Oh, are you watching it?
Yeah, I have it streaming down here at the bottom, and he caught a good one. He caught a good one on the frog, and now he's flipping the old, looks like a Senko on a Texas rig on the same spot he caught the frog, and he lost a good one, and now he's landing like a 15, 16-incher. So,
dude, flip. Okay, so a half-ounce tungsten with a Senko, like Texas rig, is probably from a numbers and a size standpoint, the best bait universally in the entire country.
Oh yeah, catches them everywhere.
You can flip it, you can cast it out deep and drag it. That's definitely something I do, but nobody should take notes on that.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I fish on like a 3/16 ounce weight because I use the little MGL 70 reels, and I can bomb that sucker on like 12, 15 pound tests and just count to 100 for it to get down, but it falls incredibly fast. Even with a 3/16 ounce weight. Yeah. So
I mean, it's funny. So Andy will go and he'll be up shallow flipping it, and then I'll turn around and bomb it 100 yards and just slowly drag the sucker. But I'll drag that thing in like 25 foot of water, and you'd be surprised how many big largemouth are on bottom about that deep.
They eat it. They absolutely eat. So funny thing about live right now, Drew Cook and Drew Benton are literally fishing like less than 1,000 yards from each other. Go figure.
1,000 yards is a long ways, buddy.
I know, but it's like on a big lake, it's really not that far. They're fishing the same general area, and it looks like they're both offshore trap fishing. So that's gonna be Cook's got a good one.
Well, one, and they share info. Two, they're locals.
Yeah, and they're best friends.
Yeah, so
they travel. Yeah, so that's cool. So, not a trap. That looks like a swim jig. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, as we're talking about this on a Friday episode, it's gonna be a day behind, but yeah, fun.
Everyone's like, dude, we know.
Yeah. Sorry.
We all watched this 100 times already. But yeah, so this past week was a really fun episode with Keith Carson talking finding giants in the spring. Obviously, catching bass is easy in the springtime numbers wise, but there's something to finding your true giants in the spring. That's what we broke down with Keith Carson. So if you guys haven't checked that episode out yet, highly encourage you to go back and watch it. And then coming up, we talked about it on Keith's show, but really exciting episode coming up next Tuesday night for live.
I'm so pumped for that.
We thought originally that it was the first live stream he's ever done, but old Pat at Straycast has had him on before. But Mr. Hank Parker is going to be joining us for live, and we got Chris Lane coming on that week as well. So we have a star-studded lineup for next week.
It's a good week of shows.
Really excited for. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Hank is. I'm just excited for the story to be able to bring out. So I hope you guys will join that. Whether or not you can come live, look forward to that episode. It's going to be a heck of a time. But Andy, anything else for the folks before we sign off here? My laptop battery's at 9%.
Oh no! So real quick, this Saturday's Lure Lab episode, we break down the difference between the original mag draft and the freestyle and when to throw it with Josh Bragg, who is a Mega Bass pro. So it's a really fun one. But also what I want to throw out there is on our website, we do have that apparel shop still going. So make sure you check it out. You can get swag from Serious Angler, Business from the Bass Boat, and the Lure Lab. And we greatly appreciate you guys purchasing our apparel and rocking it, and we look forward to seeing everyone wearing it at Red Crest in the Classic.
So, yeah, I mean, speaking of that, hats are in. I just got a notification that last week that the hats are at my house, so they're now good and ready to go to ship. So if you guys want a Serious Angler hat, Business from the Bass Boat hat, we have different styles and colors of each. SeriousAnglerNetwork.com. Again, like Andy said, it's linked down below. Go get yourself a hat. And we have some other new stuff coming. We're going to try to get like Blackfish sun hoodies coming up in this, when we lead into summer. If you guys want one of those, we might have to do a pre-order for those. If we do, just stay tuned to the show and obviously social media. And we'll, if that's something you're interested in, the Angler Sun hoodies are freaking sick. That's about all I wear once it's not wintertime anymore.
Yep.
Regardless of if I'm fishing or not, because they're so dang comfortable. And so we're going to try to get some Serious Angler and Business from the Bass Boat branded ones. We can throw some Lure Lab in there too. We just have to get a pre-order for them. Working on trying to get some more and better gear added to that you guys can take advantage of. And we're going to try to get some stickers too. I know stickers isn't like a huge deal, but I know some people like it. We've had some emails come in about people asking for stickers. So regardless, we appreciate it. We hope you guys take advantage of it. If you're listening to this on MP3 and you have a means to give us a rating and review and you haven't done so yet, we would highly appreciate that because it really helps us out big time. It takes you 30 seconds tops. Just click a start, whether it's 1 or 5 or 3, whatever you're going to do. Give us a nice rating regardless. It helps us out, gets us shown more, which helps you guys because the show, ultimately, more ratings, the more the show gets shown to new folks, which increases the audience, which helps us be able to do more things to the show, which ultimately comes back full circle and helps you guys out. So we much appreciate that.
Agreed.
Anything else, Andy, before we sign off here?
Real quick, book a guide trip if you're planning on it. Get in contact with me. I only have like 5 or 6 days left in May and June. And I'm going to throw this out here now as our listeners will be the first ones to hear it. Came up with a deal with Alpha Angler, and usually in the past I would give away $100 gift card to a tackle store wherever you want of your choice for big fish of the year. This year we were going to be partnering with Alpha Angler, and the client who catches the biggest bass on my boat this year will win that Alpha Angler rod that they caught the fish on. So the same exact model. So like if you catch on a Spy Bait Finesse rod, which is probably the rod that's going to happen on, if it happens on Erie, that would be the rod that you would win at the end of the year. Or if we go largemouth fishing, if you catch on a Chatterbound or a Rebound or a Zilla, like that's the rod you will win. So that's pretty exciting. I really look forward to like all of the content and details that are going to come from that, because it's going to be really fun year to talk about it and have a story to go with it. So yeah,
I mean, that's a freaking deal in itself.
Yeah. And $250 to $320 rods that you can win for catching the biggest bass for going out on a trip with me. So we'll have some fun in it. We try to make it completely educational based, artificial only. I don't use live bait on my guide trips. So it's going to be fun.
Flatworms only.
Flatworms only. Oh, we use other things too, but flatworm always gets bit. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, folks, we appreciate y'all as always. I know we say it all the time, but we really mean it. We would not be doing the show if you guys
y'all rock.
Obviously, we enjoy it, but the fact that you guys enjoy it too, it's extra incentive for us to keep doing these shows. We have a new show coming to the network this spring that we're still in the midst of just trying to get the background working on. But I don't want to give it up too much just yet. We'll start knocking some sneak peeks coming, but we'll be a new person joining the team. It's going to be a cool niche that I think a lot of people are asking for. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm just kind of letting a little bit cat out of the bag there. You guys at least expect a new show on the network. It'll be like Lure Lab and Business from the Bass Boat, where it's on our network here where we can talk about it, link it, but it's on its own platform. So it'll be its own show. That way you guys are on this platform now. You're getting only Serious Angler shows. Business from the Bass Boat's getting only Business from the Bass Boat shows, which if you guys, I mean, we talked about it a while ago when it switched. If you guys missed the Business from the Bass Boat shows on here and you're wondering why it's not on Serious Angler anymore, it's because it's on its own platform. Just go into whether you listen to Apple, Spotify, etc. We have it linked down below too to make it easier on you. But if you're in the app and it's easy, you can just search Business from the Bass Boat and then you'll be able to find it and be able to go and look through the shows. We'll have a whole channel and everything being made on Apple. That way you guys can get all the Serious Angler network shows on there and you don't have to go look for the other ones. But regardless, a lot of fun stuff coming for the platform. Appreciate everybody, and we'll see you on Tuesday night from Mr. Hank Parker. Peace.